Welcome to my presentation for EDE4103 entitled Childhood is a River. The development of my metaphor was the outcome from an evaluation of my personal philosophy on education. To reveal my thinking, I completed the survey on the screen and discovered that my principles and practices on education align equally with both progressive and humanistic philosophies. I then developed a mind map around my image of the child and found that it too supported my survey results. Influenced by the information from the survey, mind map, and my deep appreciation for nature, I reached my metaphor. I have ordered my beliefs into the following 5 principles for teaching and learning, and throughout this presentation we'll describe how they align with my metaphor. Principle 1. The classroom is a sanctuary, respecting the needs and contexts of children. The demographics of an ordinary contemporary Australian school entails that each class will almost certainly contain learners from disadvantaged contexts. Learners may be experiencing any range of difficulties, such as cultural disparities, discord within the home or personal relationships, disability, low socioeconomic struggles, homelessness, and potentially even abuse. The frequency of the outlined societal ills suggests that it is likely there will be multiple students in every class who are more concerned with meeting their most basic needs over engaging with the educational activities on offer. For example, have you ever tried working on a complex problem after an argument with a spouse, or if you're feeling uncomfortable? I think you'll agree that challenging work is made much harder when your basic needs haven't been met. To help overcome these difficulties, the classroom can provide a safe space which will respect and provide for the individualistic needs of the learners. Theorists such as Yuri Bronfenbrenner and Abraham Maslow add authority to the value of why we should meet the essential needs of learners and make provisions for a student's individual context. Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory describes that a person's development is influenced by the interplay of their surrounding environment and the complex systems of relationships to which they are exposed. Each child's model or system draws a unique contextual picture, a picture which is defined by a number of features such as financial position, culture, neighbourhood resources, and even personal disposition. It is important to note that the child's model is changeable. For example, when a school identifies a need for children who are missing out on breakfast and respond with the provision of a breakfast club, this changes the context for those affected children. The new resource will become a part of that child's model. For reasons such as the breakfast example, Bronfenbrenner regarded the identification of individualistic contexts and needs of learners as paramount to distinguishing how a learner's setting might be improved. Through considering each child's unique context, it may be ascertained how that person might interact with and perceive the world around them. Maslow adds additional weight to the argument, explaining that people are motivated to achieve certain needs and that some needs will take precedence over others. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, depicted here in a pyramid, indicates that lower levels of physiological needs are a priority preceding all the others. The next significant need is safety, then psychological, a need of belongingness and love, followed by esteem, and lastly self-actualization. While there may be exceptions to this model where brilliant minds have evolved from poverty conditions, it is difficult to empirically measure if those specific individuals considered whether or not their needs were adequately met, and what role personal disposition might have had toward negating negative circumstances and steering them toward a subsequently more successful outcome. Providing for childhood needs and contexts can be likened to the riverbed that protects and provides for the needs of many different life forms. Some demands are universal to all the organisms that depend on it, such as the oxygen the river supplies. For others, the provisions are unique to that organism, such as a specific food source or shelter for one type of plant or fish. Like the life forms in the riverbed, learners first need to have their basic physiological needs met. A provision for food, water and shelter, followed closely by safety. While it's a long stretch to indicate that a river plant might be capable of cognizant self-actualization, the intention is to express that we all have a certain level of needs that require to be catered for before we can grow. So, what does a classroom that provides sanctuary while respecting the needs and context of children look like? Firstly, there is an intentional effort and time dedicated toward developing positive relationships between both the educator and learners and between peers. Each child's voice or perspective would be physically visible in the classroom, on the walls, in the ways we communicate, and through the planned activities. The classroom will have a clear set of guidelines that keep everyone safe. Learners, educators, and families will have opportunities for assistance and know how to access it. Lessons and curriculum are tailored to suit the contextual needs of the class. A supportive culture is encouraged, where mistakes are appreciated as an opportunity for learning. Lastly, the physical space will also need to provide areas for a variety of emotional and physical conditions, such as access to quiet spaces, cooling fans or heat, and anything else which may improve the comfort and needs of the learners. Principle 2, children are unique resources and thinkers who are capable and competent learners. Principle 2 may best be illustrated through Pat Thompson's metaphor of a virtual school bag, explaining that like a school bag, children are already filled with many things that they have previously learnt. Children will arrive at school with a treasure trove of experiences and knowledge unique to them. Consider students raised in multilingual families, or children with a deep knowledge of how a farm looks and runs, all before they've walked through the school door. These children have already demonstrated an ability to learn and are equipped to supply a wealth of knowledge ready to contribute to the classroom. As outlined in Principle 1, Bronfenbrenner explained that people are impacted by many social and physical constructs. From birth, each child will be gathering learning experiences and perspectives that are unique to them and their setting, ready to shape their own thinking and facilitating further learning and collaboration with others. Loris Malaguzzi, the founder of the Reggio Emilia philosophy, based his beliefs around the conception that children are powerful people with a desire to grow and construct their own understanding of the world. A major focus of the Reggio program is observation and documentation. Educators will take influence from the students' works to develop a child-centered curriculum informed by the learner's current interests and development. A river starts as a small trickle, building up to a flowing watercourse, ending up as a large body of water like the ocean or a lake, each stage building upon the last. Likewise with a child, they start collecting input from their immediate surrounds, accumulating knowledge like the precipitation which slowly builds up the depths of the river. But as the child's knowledge grows, a domino effect of learning takes place and eventually culminates into a large body of experience, a vessel which is never wholly filled, but always added to by the rain clouds and natural runoffs. Enacting Principle 2 in the classroom would entail lots of open-ended discussion where the children's position and thinking is encouraged. The room or school itself would present many forms of children's work, consciously ensuring that the displayed works are of a quality which demonstrate the children's thinking, as opposed to items like teacher-directed worksheets. Good examples would be artworks conceptualized by the children and written stories or family histories. Furthermore, learning would be recorded photographically with video devices, on blogs or in teacher-annotated documentation, then later used and considered for developmental purposes, interests and ideas. Principle 3, Learning how to learn provides access to a lifelong education. Learning how to learn is the ability to pursue and effectively manage your own learning. A student who has developed this skill will never be without the knowledge that they require during any stage of their lives. Young learners will develop into adults who know how to effectively source and manage time, tools, and information to obtain desired results. A major theme in the theoretical framework of Bruner is that learning is an active process in which students construct new ideas or concepts based upon their current and past knowledge. The learner selects and transforms information, constructs hypotheses, and makes decisions, relying on a cognitive structure to do so. Cognitive structures or schemas provide meaning and organisation to experiences, scaffolding the individual to inform their own learning and eventually move beyond the delivered information. Furthermore, Bruner supported the use of a spiral curriculum where students continually build upon what they've already learned. For example, a student who has been taught how to filter quality information from poor has acquired a lifelong skill for categorising content, which will assist them in their future to discern useful and relevant information as required. Cognitive theorist Lev Vygotsky purported training children to learn from a more knowledgeable other sets them up to experience success. Vygotsky's theory, entitled the Zone of Proximal Development, or ZPD, is an important concept relating to the difference between what a child can achieve independently and what a child can do with the guidance and encouragement from a more skilled partner. ZPD is deemed a successful learning process which can be utilised at any life stage. Adults who consult experts in their fields and more knowledgeable others to inform their understanding experience greater successes compared to those who don't. Like the river, the path to learning is in a constant state of flux and change. However, the riverbed and learner will always require a solid foundation with which to carry the water or student in any direction it requires. Like the solid rocks of the river shaping the bed floor, investing in a foundation of lifelong skills such as basic mathematical concepts, reading, writing, interpreting information and knowledge on how to seek information will all contribute towards supporting the learner on their unique journey. In application, aside to learning foundational content, students will actively engage in essential learning skills. They will be explicitly taught how to find information, where to find it, and how to discern the quality of the information. Learning study techniques, how to structure assignments or written tasks, manage time, and discover the tools of research, such as more knowledgeable others, computers, libraries, and how to access and use those tools to their greatest potential. Finally, the classroom will be a space rich in Socratic dialogue and collaboration, where possible closely mimicking authentic real-life occurrences. Principle 4, Engagement Generates Effort, Learning and Meaning Making, is all about developing an intrinsic motivation to learn and growing a positive attitude towards studying. When learning is either fun, relatable or meaningful, students are more likely to engage and interact with the content. Without meaning and a context in which to place the information, knowledge is quickly lost to the ages or never taken up at all. The term engagement in this context refers to employing fun and play and the sparking of curiosity, both through the complete unknown as well as through relatable interests. John Dewey strongly believed that education and knowledge flowed from an inherent curiosity, explaining that children work best when they interact and engage with the environment around them. Dewey purported that learning opportunities should be meaningful and linked to previous experiences, motivating students to learn. Ultimately, Dewey thought that educators should adopt the role of a facilitator of experiences rather than an instructor of content. Sharing values with disciplines such as that of Waldorf and Montessori schools, Malaguzzi's Reggio Emilia methodology believes that learning and play should not be separate, but rather be related and recognized as another approach to learning. Malaguzzi encourages the use of the 5 senses and highly regards hands-on learning experiences. Like Vygotsky and Socrates, Malaguzzi appreciated the value of language and communication, taking the stance that the relationship between teacher and student be one of expressive co-construction as opposed to a didactic approach. Educators would do well to draw from their metaphorical counterpart, the river. The river first supplies intrigue through gentle babbling sounds and sweet smells, and then offers a small glimpse of the water or river's edge and of what is to follow. while further along the banks there are surprises of new life and reminders of details seen earlier along the riverbed, often tempting the senses to interact, to feel and test the water by dipping in a big toe or even by a full dive into its refreshing depths. An engaging and meaningful classroom will have learners who are actively participating in construction, manipulating materials, exploring with media, investigating their environment, and having authentic interactions with peers and adults. The classroom would set a culture for conversations that lead to new understandings and interests, as opposed to a list of directions. While there must be a requirement to offer directions at times, real conversation is very valuable to the learning process. And as part of the conversations, supplying spaces to further explore interests such as through an I wonder table or wall would be very much in line with the objective. Principle 5, learning is multimodal. The Oxford Dictionary defines the term multimodal as being something which is characterised by several different modes of activity or occurrences. Multimodal learning entails using flexible thinking and inverses. It may present as working solitarily or collaboratively, working with a quiet, calm reflection, or with energetic, loud animation. Multimodal learning engages the use of an extensive variety of tools, such as the learner's body, voices, texts, concrete materials, and an assortment of ICTs, like YouTube clips, digital games, video recording equipment, cameras, microphones, tablets, and laptops. Ultimately, multimodal learning means that studying is a dynamic process requiring creativity and critical thinking, regularly asking ourselves as students and teachers, how else could we do this, or what else is there to know? Malaguzzi wrote a text entitled The 100 Languages of Children, reminding us that there are multiple ways of seeing and multiple ways of being. The 100 Languages is concerning the seemingly endless number of children's potentials to wonder and inquire about the world around them. For Lev Vygotsky, cognitive development is a socio-cultural process and the result of an internalized language. Knowledge is gained through transitions of information from the learner's environment, influencing how and what they will think about. Vygotsky noted that children who were raised in cognitively and linguistically stimulating environments had a higher quality of social exchanges and developmental gains, describing that successful learners will initially engage collaboratively to construct meaning, working together often with the help of a more knowledgeable other. However, Vygotsky also purported the importance of then giving children time to convert this information into a personal private speech, and lastly, a silent inner speech to transform the knowledge into something that is meaningful to them. The river is a symbol of the converses of childhood. It can be a place of calm, gently ebbing along the rocks, and then the next moment is stirred up by the wind into a frothy turmoil. In places, the water will glide past, meeting very little obstacles on its banks or riverbeds. Then just around the bend, we'll find an assortment of rocks, nesting holes, plant and animal life, all coming together to create a different aspect or experience of the river and its environment. The multimodal classroom is packed with resources and tools. The work samples and planned learning experiences are diverse and creative. Text will explore linguistics, visuals, audio, spatial and gestural components. There would be provision for collaborative learning as well as time for internalising content and reflective activities. Teaching pedagogies would consist of a wide-ranging mix inclusive of both child and teacher-centred lessons. Lastly, the class would offer flexibility and differentiation to tasks. This concludes my presentation, Childhood is a River. Thank you for listening.